Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be looking at the 9.14b patch notes for Teamfight Tactics. Now, Riot did announce that they are going to be doing basically 2 patches for Teamfight Tactics for every 1 League patch while it's in the beta. So League, if you didn't know, the patch is every 2 weeks on League typically, and Teamfight Tactics is going to be every week. So it's going to be, 9.14a and 9.14b. Now, since my last patch notes video and my last tier list video, they changed a lot because remember I went on vacation last week and I didn't see the official patch notes. I just had to read what people were saying was happening on the PDE, and it was dramatically different from what I thought. So I think that I was right about a lot of things in my predictions video, but I think that there have been a lot more things that I've learned actually getting to play on the patch after all of those changes over the last few days. And I've been doing pretty well, just as an aside here. And don't get too discouraged if you're not that high yet. As you can see, the distribution is still mostly Bronze 4. People get placed into Iron and Bronze. This is what the distribution looks like right now in League. And so even something like Plat 4, which a lot of people might think like Gold 1, Plat 4, traditional League is going to be like the top maybe 10% of players. It's really closer to like the top 3 or 4% right now in Teamfight Tactics, just because everybody had to start at Iron 1 and Bronze 4. And, people are slowly working their way up as they play. So there's only like, I don't even know how many. There's very, very few people that are in like Masters right now. It can all fit on one page here. So there's like maybe 20 people even in Masters. And there's no Challengers, no Grandmasters. Now, I will say also that as I've been learning more and working on this, I've been climbing a lot, like really quickly. I haven't even been playing that much lately. So like my, my win rate or whatever, top 2%. We're currently Gold 1, which I think is like the top 3 or 4%. So that's closer, like Gold 1 is closer to like Platinum 1 or Diamond 4. And I started off just like everybody else down in Iron. Like 3 days ago I was Iron 1. So like I said, hopefully I can share some of that knowledge with you, help you climb as well. It's not all luck based. I know a lot of people out there like, oh, it's just luck. It depends on which items you get and, how your rerolls go and stuff. It's like sort of, but if you know what you're doing, you can definitely climb very quickly in this game. Okay, so as always, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Check me out on Twitch. I do play Teamfight Tactics at least a couple of games every night on stream. Usually near the end of the stream, but come by, check it out if you like. The Strategy Professor on Twitch. If you want, you can drop me a follow there as well. But yeah, check it out. It starts around 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We usually go till about 2 a.m. It's a wonderful, very chill community. I try to explain everything that's going on so you can not only kind of enjoy the cool community, but maybe learn some stuff and improve your own play as well. And I'll try to make this as fast as possible, but I try to be thorough and informative as well. So if the video is a bit longer than you would expect, don't forget always you can go into the little cog in YouTube and you can speed it up to 1.25% or even 1.5% if you can understand me that well. I am from the South in the United States. I do speak a little slower. I try to be thorough, conversational. So sometimes, my videos are a little bit longer than others, but go through, check that out if you'd like. Okay, let's go ahead and get in here with the actual changes, and then I'm going to, so the first half of the video will be the changes, then the back half I'll talk about what I think will be the best 3 comps. So minor spoiler here, I think Yordle Sorcerers, Void Brawlers, and Gunslingers will still be kind of near the top. But let's go through the changes first, and then I'll go through each one of those comps a little bit. I did a super in-depth guide about Void Brawlers, so be sure to go check that out if you'd like. I released that a few days ago. That's what I've played mostly in that climb from Iron 1 up to Gold 1 over the last few days. Okay, so biggest thing is critical strike damage now stacks additively instead of multiplicatively. I didn't even realize that it stacked multiplicatively, so that was really OP. So what that means is multiplicatively, let's say that you were going to do 100 damage, and you have 1 critical strike modifier that gives you 100% extra damage. That would obviously be 200 damage. But now if you have an additional critical strike modifier that gives you an extra 100% damage, so you have one thing that gives you 100% and then another thing that gives you another 100%, under the old system, you would actually do 400 damage because it would check first the 100%, so you'd go from 100 to 200, and then it would check the next 100% after the previous 100% had been applied. So you do 100% of 200, it would go to 400. And so that's why assassins were doing such crazy damage with their crits, like 2,000, 3,000 damage, because all of that was stacking up multiplicatively. Now it's going to stack additively. So what that means is that you just basically add up all of your modifiers, and that's what it is. So now you would only do 300 damage in that same scenario. So you would have a 100% modifier, an extra 100% modifier, that's 200%. You would just do 200% of the original 100. That would take you to 300. So that's what they mean when they tell you right here, assassins will deal around 25% less damage. Because with that simple example right there, instead of doing 400, you're doing 300. So you're losing 100 damage. That's 25% of 400. That's where they get that number. So I'm just doing some real quick math for you so you understand how that works. Infinity Edge will come out as neutral. I'm not really sure what that means because you're definitely going to be losing a lot of damage because I think items also stacked multiplicatively. So if you had Assassins plus Infinity Edge, you would have the normal critical strike modifier, then Assassins, then Infinity Edge. So anyways, it was very rare to get Infinity Edge to begin with. But anyways, Assassins, big nerf on the damage. That's the main takeaway there. And then they're also nerfing the critical strike damage as well. So not only how it stacks when you get the assassin bonuses, but also the critical strike modifier is going down at 3 assassins to 125%. And this was one of the most common builds. It was like 3 assassins with ninjas was the common build. Like getting the 6 assassins was fairly rare, I think. Although it did happen from time to time. But if you went ninja assassins, you would also have Kennen and Shin, who aren't assassins. And so you'd have to have like 8 or 9 champions on the board in order to get like ninja 6 assassins. So anyways, the 3 assassin build with ninjas specifically does get nerfed right here. Okay, Sorcerer's getting buffed. This is a pretty significant buff. This is about a third more bonus out of it. So 3 Sorcerer is going to look a lot more appealing. 6 is really hard to get to. In general, but 3 is pretty easy. In a lot of comps with like Wild Dragons, you can get to 3. With Yordles, you can get to 3. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. It's pretty easy to get to 3. So having the extra 10 AP is a big deal. And how AP works, I believe, in TFT is basically that's just a percentage damage modifier on any magic damage that you're going to do. So if you have 45 AP, you're doing an ability that does 100 damage, you now do 145 damage. So it doesn't have the same kind of like ratios that Standard League does. Right, whereas like in Standard League, it's like AP is a flat amount of damage that is added to an ability, and champions have ratios. So if you have 100 AP in League and you have an ability that does, you have a 1.0 ratio, and you have an ability that does 200 damage, you would still only gain, in League, you would gain just 100 flat damage. So you would do 300 damage. Versus in Teamfight Tactics, if you have an ability that does 200 damage or whatever, and you have 100 ability power, it would actually double. It would be 100% more damage rather than 100 flat damage. So you would actually deal 400 instead of the 300 you would do in League. And that's because ability power is a lot harder to get in Teamfight Tactics than it is in League of Legends, usually. So, anyways, the scaling, it's very good. Basically, it means you're going to be doing 10% more damage on all of your abilities, when before you would only, like, 45 total % extra damage, versus before you were only dealing 35% total extra damage. So, really nice for a lot of comps, most specifically Wild Dragons, if people are still doing that. Wild is getting buffed here. And specifically Yordle Sorcerers. Okay, so Wild is getting buffed. They're buffing it back up to 10%. Stacks 5 times. Now you can get 50% attack speed. That's really tempting. The thing was, like, they nerfed the Transform champion, so they nerfed Nidalee, and they nerfed, like, specifically Rapid Fire Cannon on Nidalee, and then they just buffed a lot of the on-hit abilities, or they buffed the champions that use on-hit really well. And so Wild has just kind of fallen out of the meta. Maybe it comes back. I mean, that is a classic comp that could still work. They have also nerfed Shyvana and Aurelion Sol. But I have seen Wild still perform pretty well in some games. So maybe Wild Dragons is back. We'll see. There's a lot more competition for Gnar now because a lot of people are going to be going Yordles, and he is instrumental in the Yordle comp. So it could work. It could still be all right. But yeah, the buff to Sorcerers, which Wild usually gets, the buff to Wilds themselves, and the buff directly to Ahri. All 3 of those are buffed to Wild. So Wilds might be back. We'll see. Either Wild Dragons or like Wild Elementalists is like the most common. The Elementalist Golem got nerfed again to 2200 health. Good. The thing's just really big and overpowered. So I think that's good. Seems fair. So Ahri is getting a buff. It's not like an insane amount, but keep in mind this hits twice. So especially at rank 2, is probably where it's most significant. If you get a rank 3 RE, that'll definitely add up. But remember, this can hit multiple targets, and it does damage both ways. This would be 400 damage per target that you hit both ways. And remember, they last patch, they also fixed the AI on it, so it's a lot more likely to hit like quality targets. So pretty good old buff to Ahri. Keep in mind, she's also a sorcerer, so she's probably going to, like, her damage right there is also going to add up here to do a little bit more. And I think her mana requirement is not that high for her ability. Let me see. No, it's only 75. Now, keep in mind also that because she's a sorcerer, that stacks up twice as fast. So, you know, you got to be careful buffing her damage because it doesn't look like a lot. Oh, it's like, oh, it's only 400 damage, but she's a 2-star champion, so it's going to be really easy to level her up. She's a sorcerer, which means that every time she auto-attacks, she gets double mana, and she's wild, which means she gets a lot of free attack speed, so she stacks up faster. So, you know, keep in mind, like, it doesn't look like a lot, but the fact that she gets a lot of attack speed, and she stacks her mana super fast, and it's only 75 base mana, and there's a really high probability you can get her to level 2 early, is pretty strong. Like, that's pretty legit. So, you might be seeing a lot more Ahri, so I think she would definitely move up the tier list. I'm not going to do a full extra tier list. Well, I guess maybe I will. Maybe I'll do another tier list. I'll probably do another tier list tomorrow now that there's a new patch out. Why not? But this video is just going to cover the patch in general. But I think she's definitely going to move up because she can slot into wilds, and you can just throw her in any kind of sorcerer comp, like with Void Brawlers. You could throw her in there. You know, you could maybe even throw her in with Yordles. You don't usually do that, but it's possible if you're not finding like a Morgana or something. You could throw her in with Yordles. So I think she could fit into several different comps. Okay. Akali getting a nerf, so 50 less health, and then attack speed's going down to 70. This is pretty significant if you take into account that it also includes the scaling on the critical strike, as well as the assassin nerf, the 3 assassin nerf. Because remember, Akali's ultimate can crit. So the critical strike modifier is especially important for her. Like, when it's doing 125% less on her ability that's doing like 400 damage when you have rank 2 Akali, that's a lot less damage. And if you do decide to get Infinity Edge or something, you know, that could be a lot less damage too. So this is a big nerf. So it's basically 4 nerfs to Akali, if you want to think about it that way. So pretty significant. I mean, the 50 health doesn't seem like a lot, but that can be a big deal. I'm not sure how that plays out with her, like, rank 2. I assume rank 2 is going to have even less health, so maybe rank 2 has 1,300 instead of 1,400 health. That's a big deal. I mean, she's squishy. She can die. You know, when she jumps onto that back line, there's a chance she dies a lot faster there. The attack speed is also relevant. So I still think Akali will be good. She was really overpowered on this patch. I would argue she was probably, you know, top 5 best champ. But this will definitely bring her down a little bit, although I still think she'll be strong. Okay, Evelynn is getting 10 more damage, but she's also getting her health nerfed, so this 10 damage doesn't make up for the assassin nerf itself, but it does help some with 3 assassins. So I don't know the exact math on it, but I still think it's an overall nerf, but they're trying to help it out. So they're making assassins squishier, but they're trying to just, like, moderately nerf their damage. Okay. Although, according to what they're saying that crit is dealing 25% less damage on assassins. This is 20% more increased AD. So, it's getting similar amount of damage as it was before. Also, she gets this just for free, even without having the assassin buff, while you're building up your comp. So, overall, probably relatively net neutral on the damage. Remember, she got a huge buff last patch, 200 ult. It does a hell of a lot of damage when you get rank 2 Evelynn. So this will definitely hurt demons, assassins, and potentially a version of the Void Brawler that we'll talk about here in a little bit. Okay, Kennen going down a little bit with attack damage. This is probably fair just because Kennen, he's a ninja, so if he's alone, he does really high damage. He does 40% more attack damage, and he's ranged, and he fits into a lot of different comps. So I think that's fair. The assassin version got nerfed, but he still is a Yordle also, which Yordles are going to be really good. He can also be he is an elementalist, and he's a ninja, which fits in with ninja assassins, and is a good standalone champ. So I've been saying for a long time that Kennen is one of the best champions in the game. He's been in my top Top 5, my S tier for the last 2 tier lists that I've done. So I think he'll continue to be really, really strong. Okay, Mordekaiser, extra health, still trash champion, probably not going to matter. Although now, like, maybe there's a chance you take Mordekaiser if you want early knights. Maybe there's a chance you take him instead of Garen or Darius, but probably not. Probably not. Tristana is getting a light attack speed nerf. Tristana is a Yordle, and Tristana is a gunslinger. So she is front and center with a lot of comps, and it is very common to try to get her to tier 3 because she's a rank 1 champ, or a 1-cost champ. So definitely deserved a nerf. Maybe deserves more than that. They are nerfing Curse Blade, which is also one of the most abused items on her. But I still think she'll be really good, just because she's so great in both of those comps. Okay, Volibear getting 2 nerfs. So this is deserved. I think Volibear, it was either Volibear or Akali would be my vote for most OP champ of the last patch. So I think this is probably well-deserved. So they're nerfing Akali twice. They're nerfing Volibear twice. Probably fine. Oh, no. What is it, Rory? Is she mad? Why is she mad? Oh, no. Maybe she needs some Daniel Tiger. Rory? Rory, what is it? Rory, what is it? Rory. Daniel Tiger. Good job, Rory. Okay, just yell Daniel Tiger at her a lot. Well, now my wife went back outside, so she's going to freak out. Anyways, deserved nerf. I think that's fine. The armor's kind of whatever. Usually you stack him with some armor anyways, but that is relevant. You know, if he dies before he gets his ult online, if he dies before he gets his ult online, that's obviously going to be very relevant. So, that's fair. I mean, 35 was a heavy amount of armor. 30, it's okay. Attack speed is a bigger deal because Volley is all about those on-hit items with his lightning. So having the base attack is definitely it's going to take him longer to charge up his mana. So it's going to take him longer to get the lightning going. And it's also going to take him longer, like, just to actually, like, swing his attacks to, you know, do the lightning. So that's a pretty big deal. I mean, 10 on 65 is like 1/6. That's like 17%. So he's probably doing, like, 17% less damage once his ult is charged, but then it's going to take him 17% longer to charge his ult too. I mean, if he's taking damage, if he's actually frontlining for you, if you stack him up with defensive stuff like red buff, he'll still, you know, get his mana really quickly. So this could change up his itemization a little bit with nerf to Curse Blade. The thing about Volley is, like, you can put so many items on him and be effective. Like, you know, Curse Blade, yes, it's really good on him. So you can do, like, the Curse Blade, the Hush, the Disarm item, or whatever. Those are all very good on him. But, you know, he could still be pretty good with Titanic. I mean, he is a brawler, and that's right, he's going to have a ton of health. This gives him health and attack speed to kind of make up for some of those nerfs. And, I mean, with Brawler, with this item, like, even a rank 2 Volley can easily push up to, like, in the 2000s of health. So, I think there are alternative items that can still, like, hyper stack with him, like Titanic Hydra can be very good on him. Warmogs could be insane if you do Titanic Hydra plus Warmogs. Like, dude's going to be regenerating so much health, it's going to be disgusting. I mean, if, you know, this would push him up closer to 2,500 to, like, 3,000 health. So if you're missing, like, you know, 1,000 health or whatever, you're gaining 60 health per second. If you're missing 2,000 health, you're gaining 120 health per second. So it's really, really difficult to kill this guy. So I think maybe that could be a new thing. Red buff also gives health, so you could try a build that's like Titanic, red buff, and Warmogs or something, and probably still be fine. I mean, that's the thing about Volley. He's just like, he's so OP, you can almost put anything on him. You know, you could even put Phantom Dancer on him if you want to. That'll help out. You know, that's got attack speed. That makes up for the armor. That makes it so that a lot of those assassins can never touch him, because if they ever crit him, it doesn't do any damage. So he's so versatile. I still think he's going to be a top 5 champion. Well-deserved nerfs. I'm still going to be building him most games. So I think he'll still be fine, but that's definitely fair. Maybe other people won't build him as much after the nerfs. Maybe everyone will try to go Yordles instead, which means I'll get all the Volibears myself, hopefully. Okay, Curse Blade. So this item is really problematic in a couple of comps. On Volibear, it's really good. On Tristana, it's really good. On Lucian, it's really good. Anyone that has on-hit effects, it can be pretty OP. And the thing with that, specifically with Gunslingers, is you get multiple chances to proc this on multiple enemies all the time. Because like Gunslinger, when you have 4 Gunslingers, it can fire, when that triggers, you fire 4 shots. So you're hitting like 4 different champions with it. Volibear, when he's level 2, his lightning also hits 4 people, I believe. So it's similar. But Tristana can do that from range. So she can do that across the entire map. So if she has someone protecting her on the back line, and she's got that Gunslinger bonus... and especially if you can get Blade Master on her, like if you, that's really common that you'll put like, hey, thanks for the follow, I appreciate it. It's very common to try to put like a Blatherin King on her and then add in like a Draven or a Shen. Shen is usually more specifically. Then she can get multiple hits on each one of those people that she's attacking as well because of the Blade Master quality as well. So... it just gets really disgusting. She can basically just kind of spread that to almost everybody too reliably. So they're dropping the proc rate down to 20%, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a pretty big deal. So, I mean, that's 20% less chance that it's going to proc, basically, because it's going from 25, 1/5 down to 20%. So... doesn't seem like a lot, but I think that really will add up. Because the thing is, this comp is actually pretty vulnerable. Like, first of all, and we'll talk about this comp here in a second, but you don't have, like, a proper tank until you get a Shen late game. And you're not usually going to be able to put Shen in there because you're not going to have enough slots because you need Pyke and Gangplank. I guess later on you can take out Pyke and put in Shen. But for a lot of this comp, you don't have a lot of protection, and these champions are really squishy most of the time, unless you get like very specific items. Like if you load up Graves with like red buff and Phantom Dancer, then yeah, he can be a little bit tankier, but you also want a lot of items on Trist and you want items on Lucian. It's a very item hungry build. You are squishy, and so if this is taking longer, if this is taking 20% longer to stack up those Cursed Blades, then you just may not have enough time. Like they might just kill your front line and just run you over. So I think this is definitely very relevant, specifically for Gunslingers. It does hurt Volley also, potentially, but the thing is, like, Volley doesn't rely on that item as much as Trist. Like, Trist is not going to be able to... I mean, I guess she can rock a lot of the same kind of items as Volley, but, you know, like, Phantom Dancer's not going to be as good on Trist. Like, that's an option for Volley. Red buff is okay, you know, on Trist, but you're probably going to put that on Graves. You know, it's just... I think it's going to affect that comp more than Volley. Volley, you can throw any number of things on him and be really effective, but Trist, a little bit less so. She's also squishier, but you can get her to 3-star easier than Volley, so I don't know. It'll definitely knock both of those on-hit comps down a little bit. So the real winner there is Yordles, because Yordles don't use that item. Infinity Edge. Okay, so critical strike damage is going up to 150%. Okay, so this is what they meant by neutral. Okay, now I get it. I forgot they buffed Infinity Edge. So they are nerfing the assassins in general and how it stacks multiplicatively, but they are also buffing Infinity Edge to make up for that. So if you do get Infinity Edge on an assassin, it'll be about, they're saying, about the same amount of damage is what it seems like. So that's fair. Infinity Edge is a really niche item. Not a lot of people get that item. You would really only get that on assassins, and specifically maybe just Akali or Rengar, because Akali can crit with her passive and Rengar's ult also crits, or like it's physical damage. And he gets huge increases to crit. He gets like a 25% extra crit chance after he finishes his ult. So anyways, most assassins I still think don't get that. I think a lot more of them would be like more likely to get something like Luden's. But anyways, it's okay. I don't think it's going to break the meta that much, but on certain champs it'll matter. Okay, Locket did get nerfed down to a 200 shield. That's fair. Now, keep in mind on the last patch as well that they also nerfed Locket so that ability power does not work with Locket anymore. So you can't just go like you know, 3 sorcerers or 6 sorcerers and stack like 3 lockets on them and get like a 5,000 shield or something, like the, you know, the super OP comp from a couple of patches ago. So, anyways, still a reasonable item. I mean, 200 health on 5 champions is 1,000 effective health. That's like having an extra, you know, champion worth of health. So on squishier comps like Gunslinger's probably good. On things like Brawlers, probably not worth. But it's okay. All right, Morellonomicon is now 5%. It's okay. I'm not really sure a lot of times where you would want this item. I guess like Kennen obviously would come to mind. Maybe Brandon and Kennen I guess would like this. Maybe Volibear. So I guess there are some champions that would like it. So okay, gets a little buff. That's nice. It's good if you're not doing a comp that's going to have red buff. Like Void Brawlers are probably going to do red buff. Gunslingers are probably going to do red buff. But maybe with Yordles, you know, could be a pretty good item with Yordles, I suppose, especially Kennen. So, pretty good. Okay, Raptors now always drop a loot box. Okay, finally. I hope they do this with the rest of the champs because... or with the rest of the camps, because that's just like there are so many games that can be decided if one person has like 2 or 3 more items than someone else. I mean, you can work around it, but I think ultimately it's just going to be much easier for them to balance it if every neutral camp drops an item. So I don't know why that's hard to figure out, but they're finally doing it with one of the camps. So, okay, Guardian trait no longer fades. I do like, so they're standardizing it with Dragon, where you get a completed item if you beat Dragon, which is good. And it does feel like most camps drop at least 1 loot box, except for the very first couple of camps. You could get gold or loot boxes, but it feels like most of the time with the later camps, you do get a loot box. The epic monsters do always drop a completed item, so that's kind of cool. But okay, so Guardian Angel, yeah, there were some cases where it wasn't triggering, so that's a nice buff there if you want to get that item. And then Redemption, I guess, I don't know if it was overhealing or underhealing, but it felt really underwhelming a lot of times. Okay, so for the last part of the video here, let's talk about how this is going to affect what I think will be the top 3 comps. And I'll just give you just a really quick like little mini guide for each one. But like I said, stay tuned. I do have an entire in-depth Void Brawlers guide, and I might do a more in-depth Yordle guide as well, and I might do an in-depth Gunslingers guide. So I'm going to try to put out more guides for you here. Okay. So let's go through these real quick. Okay, so the biggest winner here are Yordles. Now, Yordles were kind of a meme a few patches ago, but they are starting to get pretty big. Did they, oh yeah, I just kind of glossed over Poppy as well. Yeah, that's a pretty big buff on Poppy, because she hits, I think, 2 people for an extra 100 damage each. So that's 200 extra damage. So sorry, glossed over Poppy, but that's actually very relevant. Because she got buffed last patch as well, I think. So she's been buffed several times in a row. I don't know if it has them cataloged here at the bottom. Okay, they don't have that feature on here yet. But with traditional League of Legends, you can see kind of the patch history of a champion. So hopefully they add that on here soon. But yeah, she hits the 2 closest enemies. And I think it got buffed, like the AI, so that it more accurately hits people. And I think she got like a buff to health, a buff to her mana, so it's 75 instead of 100. So she's been buffed several times. Yordles also got buffed a couple of patches ago to where I think they dodged 30%, 25%. Whereas it used to be, I think it used to be 2050. Then they buffed it to 2560. So yeah, she has had several buffs. So that is very relevant. And her armor, I think, got buffed as well. So now she has 40 armor, which is some of the highest starting armor, especially for a tier 3 unit. So Poppy's legit right now. You can't put her in a lot of comps because it's like later game knights really aren't that great most of the time. But Yordles, however, can be quite strong. So, so I guess, yeah, let's just start with Poppy. She's tier 3. She's been nerfed or buffed numerous times. Hitting 2 people, basically for a guaranteed 1,000 damage. Feels pretty good. I mean, that's almost brand level damage. Like a tier 2 brand, I think does 1,200 damage off of 4 bounces. So it's getting close. It's 1,000 damage. I think Aurelion Soul is like 250 damage per person hit at rank 1. At rank 2, it might be 500. I don't remember. But anyway, she does a lot of damage. Now, a lot more than she used to. And they get knocked up for 1 second and then stunned for 2. So that means that they're going to be stunned for like 3 seconds. So it's a 3-second stun that does 500 damage that also triggers on 75 mana. Now, she does only have 0.5 attack speed, so she attacks pretty slowly, but that's a really low amount of mana to get that ability off. And if she's taking a lot of damage, which you can definitely have her frontline, then she's going to charge up her mana anyways, right? And she will be the frontline in this comp because you don't have a lot of tanks here. So it's really, really nice. So good standalone champ, only 3 stars. Like these kinds of stats, like the 1,000 damage, the 800 health, 75 mana, 40 armor, all of these are like indicative of either like silver champs, like second level champs. I'm always like confused on what to call certain things because I'll just call them silver champs. So that's like about matching silver champ level or tier 4 champion level. So that's really, really nice. And then obviously like you're going to be able to rank her up because she's only rank 3. You can get her up to rank 2, pretty common, like silver. And that's where you do the 500 damage and you have 1440 health. So I think she's quite strong in the Yordle comp specifically. Tristana, we've talked about her a lot. She's really easy to pick up early on. You're almost always going to get a silver Trist, like, very quickly. And Trist is also versatile, so you don't have to hard commit early either. So you can try to look for gunslingers, but if you just never find Lucian or you never find GP or something and you need to pivot and go towards something else, you know, you just get handed a bunch of poppies or a cannon or something like that, you can switch over to Yordles. So you can't do gunslingers and Yordles at the same time because there's just not enough space, but you can start off with Trist and then decide where you want to go from there. So she's kind of the centerpiece of 2 of the 3 like big comps early on. So she's very good. And because she's tier 1 also, you have a really high probability of potentially getting her to gold level. And she scales really well as well. It's only 50 mana to use her ability. She did get nerfed here, so she only has 65 attack speed, but still can be very good in both of those comps for different reasons. Lulu, a very underrated champion, really strong. Sorcerer just got buffed, so that means that when you get a bunch of sorcerers together, she's going to be even more effective. Only 2 stars, or only 2 costs, so it's really easy to get her to silver. It does take her 150 mana to get her ult going, and she does only have 0.6 attack speed. But you also have to remember she's a sorcerer, so every attack gives her twice as much mana. So if she's only charging mana with attacks, if she's not getting attacked, it's basically like she has 75 mana instead. And if she's getting attacked, it's even better than that. So just pretend she has 75 mana, because she pretty much does most of the time. But that does make Shojin, like Spear of Shojin, very strong on her as well. Because she's getting the 15% extra mana per attack, but then that gets doubled because she's a sorcerer. So that's why Shojin is so strong on her, is because of the sorcerer perk, that she's going to stack it up really fast. And honestly, she can hard carry your team. I mean, even at silver, but definitely at gold. Lulu is so frustrating to deal with because she CCs people a lot, and she buffs up allies. I mean, 475 health to 2 people is 950 health. And if you've ever watched any of my support content in League, you'll understand that like healing and shielding is extremely powerful because it works with resistances. So it's not just 950 health, it's even better than 950 health, because like if you do 950 damage, it's going to get reduced by magic resist, right? But if you heal somebody for 950, it works with the magic resist so that they have to do even more damage to you. So like in traditional League, for example, if someone has 100 magic resist and you heal them for 100, it's actually going to take 200 magic damage to cancel out that 100 health you gave, because the 100 magic resist is going to reduce the damage by 50%. So basically, what that means, the TLDR there is healing is OP in like basically every game ever. You know, there's a reason in every game you always kill the healer first, because a lot of times it stacks with resistances in the game. So healers are also squishies. That's another reason to kill the healer. But still, so the same applies here. It's really strong. And because it's also bonus health, this is very important to understand that gets around grievous wounds. So that means that I'm pretty sure it does. In Standard League of Legends, it does, and it looks like it's worded the same as Standard League. It's not a heal, it's bonus health. So that means that red buff is not going to affect you, and Morellonomicon is not going to affect you. And who uses red buff a lot? Two of the top comps. Void Brawlers will almost always try to get a red buff on Volibear whenever possible, and then Gunslingers is going to try to put it on Graves, or they could even put it on Trist or Lucian if they have to. But that's a lot of healing debuff going on out there, but it doesn't affect Lulu. So she's just really, really good. She does have low attack range, so that's a little on the scary side. But especially if you, like I said, you put Spear of Shojins on her, or even like Archangels or something like that, you're going to be off to the races, and she can like hard carry your team, like for real. Like it's so hard. If they have a Lulu with items, it is so hard to kill that Lulu, especially with this comp Yordles. Because the thing about Yordles, remember, they dodge a lot of damage. So, you know, when you have 6 Yordles, that's 60% dodge. So if they don't have rapid fire cannon, that means that you basically have 60% extra effective health. So when you heal somebody, when you're healing for 950, they're going to have to do an extra, you know, they're going to have to assume 60% of that's getting blocked. So they're going to have to do like over 2,000 damage to make up for that 950 that you're healing. Because if you do 2,000 damage to them, 60% of that effectively is going to get blocked because of the dodge. And so really, you're only going to be dealing like 900 damage or something. I don't know the exact math off the top of my head, but something like 900 damage, 850, 900 damage. So, yeah, I think it might actually be 800 damage. So instead of doing 2,000, you're going to do 800 damage. So it's just crazy. Like, you're just never going to kill them. If there's a Lulu with items and they're getting so much dodge, you're just never killing anybody. And the thing is, like, not only is it more health that you're healing, but you get extra targets. So if for some reason you ever get a tier 3 Lulu, that's, you know, almost 2,000 health that they get healed. So she's really, really good. You don't see her a lot other than Yordles, but I think you might start seeing her a bit more. We'll talk about that here in a second, because I think you could even fit it into like a Volibear, a Void Brawler comp as well. And in Wild Dragon, she was traditionally the third sorcerer, so you would have Ahri plus Lulu plus Aurelion Sol. And like I said, Wild Dragons might be coming back into the meta again after all those buffs to Wilds, and specifically like Ahri also. Okay, so Lulu's really good. Kennen, we talked about him. Very strong. You can pivot with Kennen. That's the thing, is all three of these are very flexible, so you can pick them up early also. And then you can say, you know what, I'm just not finding the Poppy, I'm not finding the Veigar, I'm going to take this Kennen and I'm going to turn it into an Elementalist comp. Or I'm going to take this Trist and turn it into a Gunslinger's comp. Or I'm going to take this Lulu and try to find somewhere to fit it into Wild Dragons, or try to find somewhere to fit it into Void Brawlers or whatever, right? So these first three picks are all very, very flexible, and they can go in almost any comp. So you can feel good about like leveling up your Triss early, leveling up your Lulu, even giving them a couple of items, you know, if you want to. And they can put in some nice work for you early and transition well later. Okay, Poppy we talked about. Now, Poppy is very niche. I think you're only going to see Poppy basically in this comp. She can serve as like a temporary replacement for Darius or Garen if you want to do a 2-knight combo. So if you have like 3 Yordles or something, but you still want to keep knights, you still want a frontline, you know, you can keep your Silver Garen and throw it in with a Poppy and have that be your frontline for, you know, the Trist and the Lulu and the Kennen. So it is kind of nice with this comp that it is sort of modular, that you can use her early and combine with either Darius or Garen to give you a frontline, but then you can, you know, take that away later. Like, you can just get rid of the Darius and she'll still be pretty good later with the Yordle bonus. So pretty good mid-game champ and scales pretty well later, like we talked about before. Now, Veigar is really one of the weaker champions in this comp, I think. I know we have a lot of Veigar lovers out there. Sorry, Carlos, if you're watching this. But I think he really is one of the weaker ones. And the main thing is, like, yes, he does have the execute. So if you have a silver Veigar, it is very nice to try to, you know, snipe out the, you know, the tier 1 Gnar they have, the rank 1 Gnar, the rank 1 Brand or whatever. But you can't really control where he's going to target. And a lot of times, he's just going to hit someone that is also silver, because most comps are going to get, like, most of their key champions to silver pretty early. And so, really, like, you know, you're doing 500 damage, which is okay. But when you compare that to the other possible champs out there, like Poppy doing 1,000 damage when she's silver, or, like, Kennen doing however much damage he's doing, you know, what, 560 per person affected, so thousands of damage. It's just not that much. So it's only single target. He doesn't have any CC. It's a cute ability. Like, it can work if you're doing, like, Cursed Blade or something, you know, to lower their stars and then execute them. But a lot of times, it's either going to overkill them, they're already low by the time you ult, or they're going to be the same star as you. And you're not going to be getting Cursed Blade with Yordles because you don't have a lot of on-hit effects that work well with it. So, at least I don't think. I guess you could go, like, Titanic Hydra or something, maybe on the Tristana, and get it to work. Or, like, maybe sneak in a... like a Lucian somewhere while you're waiting on something else. But by and large, you're not going to be doing Cursed Blade probably with this comp. So he's necessary to get to 6 Yordles, so you got to get him, but he is one of the weaker pieces, I think. He is a sorcerer, though, too, which is nice because that will allow you to get 3 sorcerers. So he's okay. It's not that he's terrible. It's just the other champs are okay. So I wouldn't roll for 3-star. It is kind of living the dream if you get 3-star Vhagar because you can execute all these other champs. I mean... maybe you can get it to work, but I think he's one of the weaker links, but you got to have him. Now, Gnar, excuse me, Gnar is very good, as I'm sure most people are aware. He is one of the better champions in the game. He's tier 4, so he's hard to get. Usually, this is what's going to hold the comp up, because it is very approachable. A lot of these are tier 3 champs, so usually you can find at least 1 or 2 of them. And then Triss and Lulu you can definitely pick up early, so it doesn't require any tier 5 champs to make this comp work, which is nice for a 6-person comp. Is very good. So like nobles, for example, you have to have Kale, and that's not reliable at all to make that work most of the time. But it's pretty nice. You can make it work with just a 4-star champ. Now, Gnar is contested. If Wild Dragons comes back, it's going to be even more contested. So he can be difficult to pick up. You're going to have to power level with this comp a little bit, which means it's going to make it harder to get to like a gold star Tristana. But Silver's fine. It's still good with this comp. She doesn't have to be your hard carry, you know. A lot of times I would say it's probably going to be your Lulu or your Gnar with this comp that's going to be like your serious carry that you want to load up with items. But yeah, Shapeshifters did get nerfed. Gnar specifically did get nerfed a little bit. They increased his mana cost to 125 a couple patches ago. They dropped his health down 50. So that is relevant. You know, he does have fast attack speed though, so... you know, there is that, so he can charge that up. If he is taking some hits, he can maybe live a little bit longer. I think they nerfed his armor, too. I feel like he used to have, like, 35 armor. So they nerfed him, like, 3 times a few patches ago. But he's still pretty good. I mean, once he transforms, he's still going to get a lot of health, especially if you get the wild bonus. If you have a silver Gnar... that can be good. You don't even have, or not the wild bonus, the shapeshifter bonus. You don't even have to do the shapeshifter bonus with him, though. So the shapeshifter bonus did get nerfed, but if you don't even have that bonus, it doesn't matter. The thing that matters is that he's a Yordle, and he does scale really well when he transforms. I mean, you're going to get like 600 damage if he's silver, 60 extra attack damage, and he stuns everybody and knocks them around. So he's awesome. I mean, everyone knows Gnar is awesome. So... you might have to compete for him, though. That's the issue. He's tier 4. If someone's going wilds, they're going to want Gnar. If someone's going some kind of funky shapeshifter comp with... I don't know. Usually it's either wilds. Wilds is usually the one that goes shapeshifter, but they're doing some funky, like, Elise comp with, like... I don't know. Elise, Nidalee, and they're just wanting Gnar or something just to kind of finish it off. Maybe they're trying wild demons or something. I don't know. But he's usually a fairly contested champ, so... that could potentially be tricky, but still going to be good. Okay, so this is your core. These are your 6 Yordles, and then you have some options from there. So you want to be up to rank like 7 if you can do it, so you can at least complete one other collection. And I think that sorcerers are the most common one because you already have 2 of them in the comp. You already have Vhagar. You already have Lulu. Morgana is someone that I see that's very common to try to work with that comp. Because she's pretty good standalone. You know, she does quite a bit of damage, so it hits multiple targets. So usually you hit 2, sometimes even 3 people with this. So if you're hitting 3 people, that's over 1,000 damage. And it actually does the same damage back. So it's like 2,000 damage off of Morg. So Morg is maybe a bit more OP than I thought she was, honestly. I knew she was good, but just looking at these numbers, I'm like, damn, for real? Like... 2-second stun, and it's doing 700 damage to, like, you know, 750 damage to every single person. I mean, even if you're only hitting 2 people, that's still 1,500 damage. So, really good. And obviously, if you have Sorcerer, it's going to do 40% more damage. So then you're doing, 2,000 damage off of only hitting 2 people with it, with Sorcerers, with no items. So, yeah, pretty good. So she's got CC, she's got the Sorcerer, she's got the Demon. So, you don't have another Demon in the comp yet. But if you get, like, the little, the Darken buff or whatever, you can throw that on someone, make them a Demon. You could throw that on Lulu or something. She would like a ton of extra mana, so she gets an ult off faster. Remember, you get 40 mana off that item. Maybe Kennen. So, there's some options. It's a very flexible build that you can do. Or you can do you-me on to turn someone into a sorcerer. So you could do, I don't know, you could grab another knight or something in there if you just have your Garen sticking around. That'd be kind of awkward to put you-me on there, but you-me does open up some options. You could try to go for, like, Elementalist with this. So you could try to go for Brand, Anivia, and a you-me item. So if you do get access to a you-me item for the 3rd Sorceress, you could make, like, Brand into a Sorcerer also. I don't know if he would, like, ultra stack his mana if you do that. That seems like that could be really OP, like if he would get triple or quad mana, because both Sorcerer and Elementals get bonus mana on attack. I don't know. I've never tried it. That could be extremely OP. But yeah, you could throw a you-me item on Brand and then add an Anivia to it. That would require 8 ranks or a Force of Nature, so that's kind of getting really late game. But if you're not going for 3-star on any of these, it's totally possible if you have a win streak going that you could do that. So I think what people usually do is, they throw in a Morgue, or Kassadin is also an option. You can get him going early. He's a very good tank. You are lacking tanks early. Kassadin has a lot of effective health if you get a Silver Kassadin early. So that could be handy. That could also allow you to get Sorcerers online a lot earlier as well. So you're not waiting, like, if you can't find, like, a Morgana or something. Or Karthus, like, really late game. He's obviously also a Sorceress, so you could sub out Morgana for Karthus if you just aren't finding enough Morganas to get to a Silver Morgue. So you have some options there, but I think Sorcerer is the most common one. Or you could try to go Elementals, although that's a lot harder to make happen, because you do have the Kennen, but it takes 2 more. But, that's kind of the Exodia Yordle build, right? If you can get the you-me item, rank 8, and you've got Yordles plus Sorcerers plus plus Elementals, and that'll be really strong. Sorcerers is okay, it's just Sorcerers that get it. Elementals, so the Elementals won't get the extra AP damage off of it unless you make Brand an Elemental. But yeah, it could be good. You could also, if you can't get the Anivia, you could sub Lissandra in here, so that could be good too. But let's move on and talk about the other comps. I just want to spend a lot of time on that one just because that one is, I think this is really going to be kind of where people go. This is going to be like the OP comp. It was already extremely strong, and they've nerfed both of these other ones, like, quite a lot, and they nerfed Assassins a lot, and they buffed, like, Sorcerers. So Yordle's going to be strong as hell. Okay, and it is modular, like I said. You can still move some of these champs into other builds, these early 3, the Triss, the Lulu, and the Kennen. So even if you notice, okay, 4 other people are going Yordles in my game, you can just switch off and try to do something else. Okay, Void Brawlers, once again, I have a whole video on this, so I'll just kind of direct you over there. But real quick, kind of the changes for this. Like, the core concept is early on, you can get Brawlers like Warwick plus Rek'Sai, and you can, like, hard win early, go on a win streak. You can put a bunch of different champions with that. Like, Kassadin's pretty good early on with that. You can throw Kha'Zix with it. So you can get an extremely strong, very early game comp off of tier 1 champs. Like, Kha'Zix, Warwick, and Kassadin are all very low champs. Rek'Sai is not contested. A lot of people still think she's really bad, and only Brawlers are going to get her. So there's not a lot of competition for Rek'Sai, and she's only rank 2. So you can very easily kind of power level up, and each step of the way where you power up, you're adding in a lot of extra power, right? So it's a very good win streak comp early on to help you generate a ton of gold and get to those high levels, so you can have 7 or 8 champs near the end game and comfortably roll for some of your tier 3s. It's very, very powerful. Like I said, I went from like Iron 1 all the way up to Gold 1 in 3 days. So, and I did this, probably like some version of this, in like 80% of my games. So it's very, very good, even with the nerf to Volibear. So there are a few extra options after the buff to sorcerers. So traditionally what I would do is I would transition off of the Kassadin and the Blitzcrank, and then I would go into Assassins. So I would have out there Rek'Sai, Kha'Zix, Cho'Gath that gives you Void. And then Warwick, Volibear gives you Brawlers. And then you could go for a Kali and then either Rengar or Evelynn. Evelyn's just a pretty good standalone assassin after her buffs, and Rengar gets the wild buff with Warwick, which is nice, so that's going to help out the comp if you want to go for that. Rengar did specifically get buffed as well on this patch. And I like Rengar too because he does physical damage on the backline, so it benefits from Void, because Void cuts their armor by 50%. So a lot of people don't do Void with Brawlers, and I think that's a big mistake, because all of your champions auto-attack, and the damage adds up, especially if you're doing the Assassin version, which is what I've been doing. Whenever you crit off of a normal attack, that's physical damage. So if they have 50% less armor, then you're doing, you know, almost 100% extra damage on your crits. So why the hell would you not want Void? I think a lot of people just don't do Assassins with Brawlers. Like, you've heard of Void Assassins. You know, I've heard like Scar and some other people say, oh, don't do Void with Brawlers, but it's like, what about Void Assassin Brawlers? You can very easily get that, even with just like 7 champs a lot of times. Because all you need, right, you got your Rek'Sai, you got your Kha'Zix, you got your Warwick, you got your Cho'Gath, and then you've got your Rengar and your Kali. I'm probably forgetting one other one, but 7. I'm pretty sure 7's the magic number there. Volibear. Forgot Volibear. 7. So you don't need rank 8, you don't need rank 9, it's just 7. That's 30 experience for that last rank 7. That's not hard to do. So I think it's an extremely powerful option. Like I said, it is a little bit modular. You can hold on to the cast earlier or the Blitzcrank until later if you need to, if you can't find the Cho. You can also go with Evelynn instead of Rengar. If you get to a rank 2 Evelynn instead of a rank 2 Rengar, no problem. Switch it in. You don't have the wild synergy, but Evelynn still does a lot of damage. She's still an assassin. She can still work. Akali, obviously, really strong. You want her. If you can't find Akali, if she's contested, though, you can still just do Evelynn and Rengar. Not quite as good, but still pretty good. And that can serve as a backup carry. So a lot of times the Volibear is not even my hard carry. Sometimes he is. You know, if I get Rapid Fire Cannon and Red Buff and all that stuff, yeah, Volibear can hard carry with on hit, sure. But you can hard carry with your assassins too. You know, if you get rods, you can throw those on, you can hold on to those and throw them onto Akali later and do like Ludens or Death Cap, or you could do like Archangels. There's a lot of good stuff. So a lot of items that might go to waste with gunslingers because you're going on hit. You know, like rods are pretty bad a lot of the time. Like, you don't want to do AP damage because your champs don't use that. So you're ultra hungry for on hit, but you just don't use a lot of other AP type of items very well. You can use it very well with Void Brawlers because you can throw it on Akali and have her be your primary carry while you just have your meat line go in there and disrupt them. You know, with your Volibear with Hush and Disarm and all of that crap that he can do. So, just a super flexible build. It's really good. Check out the guide for more in-depth explanation of when you can make different decisions as you go. The things that I might consider changing here, and I don't know if this is correct to do yet or not, but if the Assassin nerf is too harsh, then you could actually hold on to Kassadin and get rid of Kha'Zix instead. That will still, you'll still keep all of your stuff, you'll still keep your Void, but instead of having the Assassin option, now you'll have a Sorcerer option, because don't forget Kassadin is a Sorcerer. A lot of people forget that about him, but he is. So you could have the Sorcerer option, and then instead of getting 2 Assassins later, instead of getting a Kali Rengar, you can grab 2 Sorcerers. So you could go for Lulu, very strong, we talked about before. Lulu can actually hard carry if you stack her up with like Shojins. This comp doesn't really like BF swords that much, so that would be a nice way to channel your BF swords into Shojins and throw those on Lulu later if you want. You could do Ahri. She just got buffed. She would have the wild synergy with Warwick, so that could be very good. Or you could do Morgana. Now, if you do Morgana, if you do like, you know, Lulu Morgana or something, that's 7, and then you have a really good option for 8 if you want to rank up to 8, which you don't always do that in games. But if you don't want to roll for like a tier 3 volley, which is risky if everyone else is going volley and you just want to stop at tier 2 and not re-roll a lot, you can definitely get to 8. And if you do get to 8, then you could throw in Brand or Varus, and that would give you the demon options. This would give you sorcerers and demons for 3 champs instead of just assassins for 2 extra champs. So I think all of those are good options, and this does add a lot of flexibility. Now, you could also just, I've seen some people try to go Elementalist with this build. The core build has 5 units in it, traditionally. You've got, like, Cass, Rek'Sai, Warwick, Volibear, and Cho with the Sorcerer option, or you can sub out Kha'Zix for Kassadin. It's 5 champs. So you would have to be rank 8 to make the Elementalist work, but you could do that. You know, you could grab a Brand and just throw him in there, and then if you have a Cannon or a Nivea laying around. But this only works at 8. This is really weak at 7 compared to the Sorcerer version, which is still pretty good at 7. So it just depends on how you want to power level, how you want that to work. But lots of options there, lots of toys. I know I'm going to be testing it out. It looks like a lot of fun. But those are some really good options. So this is probably my favorite. I mean, Yordle's really good too. But this has so many options. Like, there's so many different things you can do with this. And it's just so flexible depending on what you roll. You're not heavily dependent on any single champ. Like, you can even work without Volibear. Like, you can make it work with Blitz. Or you can work without Cho. You know, like, all of this is so flexible. Like, it's ideal if you have Cho and Volibear. But if you don't get them, it can still work. So, that's what I like. Whereas with this, if you don't have Gnar, this comp's probably going to fall apart. And that can be, it feels bad, because 5 Yordles, not nearly as good as 6 Yordles. So this is a bit more risky, but I do think this is still going to be strong. And then the last one that I'll talk about just for a few minutes here, I think this is the build that got hit the most, but I still think it could be good. I've tried this build. It's too risky for my taste. I did get 3rd one game. I probably could have gotten a bit higher if I managed my items better. Then another game, I just got blown out at 7 because I just didn't get the right rolls. Is Gunslingers, hard rolling Gunslingers. So this can come online early, like Trist, Lucian, Graves. That's 2 tier 1 champs and a tier 2 champ, and then Gangplank is tier 3. So you can get 4 Gunslingers super early, and you can combine that with Pyke, and that gives you Pirates. And what you do with this is you power roll. Like, you just roll everything, and you're trying to get to rank 3 one of these champs ASAP. And usually before you die or before you win, you'll get 2 or sometimes even 3 of these up to rank 3. So you're not going to have as many champions. You're only going to end the game with probably like 5 or maybe 6, like rank 6. You know, maybe if you're winning a lot, then you can roll up to, 7 if you get really good items. But, you're going to have less champs than other people. Usually for most of the game, you're going to have 1, sometimes even 2 less champions. But you have to make up for that by getting gold champions. So you have to get a gold Trist or a gold Lucian or whatever. And you really need the specific multiplicative, like, hard-hitting items. You really need Cursed Blade. You really need things like, Titanic Hydra can be very good on Trist. Swordbreaker, Hush, Red Buff. Like, you have to get the on-hit champs. Now, Lucian is a little bit more flexible. I did say, I kind of misspoke earlier. I did say they can't do anything with rods or it's weak. You can actually go Ludens on Lucian, and it's actually pretty decent. So, you do have an outlet for rods that are okay. But, it's all right. It just feels like, it can feel so bad when you're getting blown out, and you're just sitting there with like 8 Tristanas or 8 Lucians or whatever, and you just can't find the last one. This build's super popular, too, because Scar's made a video about it, and a lot of other people have, too. This is what the rank 1 guy right now used to get to rank 1 over the last week. So it's very popular. It's got a lot of press, and if there's a lot of people power rolling, yes, they're only tier 1 champs. There's still a good chance you're going to get some of them, but you need 9 of them. So it's risky. Gangplank also sucks for the most part. So, he's just kind of like, you hope that the Graves, Lucian, and Trist can hard carry you. Now, you can take out Pyke later on when you're done with Pirates, when you want to transition, and you can throw in a Shin and like a Draven, and that will also give you Blade Masters. Now, if you're lucky enough to get a Blader and King, like I talked about earlier, you can throw that on Tristana and make her a Blade Master as well, in addition to being a Gunslinger. That's really OP if you can get that. Shin does give you a little bit of a frontline tank, but in general, if you don't have the right items, they can just roll you over early and just get to your backline before Trist can kill him, especially after the nerf to Cursed Blade. So we'll see how much that affects it, but anyways, still probably a good build. It's riskier, I think. It's a lot less modular. You do not have options here. You must get these champions, and frankly, you really need at least 2 of them probably to be gold champions for you to stand a chance late game, because you're going to be down Like I said, 1 or 2 champs. So very risky, but can pay off. It can feel really good if you get the right items. It's probably the most unstoppable build. Yordles are also extremely good against this comp unless you have rapid fire cannon. So keep that in mind. If you're going to fight a Yordle later, Yordles will obliterate this comp if you don't go for rapid. But you also need Cursed Blade, which requires a recurve bow. So you're going to have a lot of bows to combat Yordles, which will probably be popular. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Come check me out on Twitch, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.